No, whoa, video. Anyway, Andy video. I haven't done one in a little while. Yeah, I find this whole, there's a bunch of people talking this kind of pantheism stuff, or this, I'm not an atheist, I don't believe in a particular religion, I don't think religion is terribly well founded, but I have this open perspective, so yeah, show me a hoobie and I'll believe in a hoobie kind of bullshit. And just yeah, I'm being agnostic on gooses that lay golden eggs, agnostic on leprechauns, agnostic. I mean, you can go right on down the list, and you're just saying, well, why would you be agnostic on fairy tales, on fables, on stories made up by people? And we know that's where religion came from. Okay, there's no credible current religion. They're all antiquity. We know people didn't walk on water. We know these miracles never happened. We know it's all bullshit. We know, but there's no credibility to any of this stuff. It's just absolute nonsense. So yeah, so being an atheist is just saying, yeah, I'm not susceptible to nonsense. There's no evidence of anything. You're not saying I defy you to prove the existence of a God. You're saying there is no evidence of that. We have evolution as an explanation for our existence, and we can logically understand that no intelligent creator, no Father knows best style creator, would have allowed life to just be 4 billion years of carnage, dinosaurs going extinct, all this other crap going on. There's no way. There's no way they would have conducted the experiment without guiding the experiment. Unless they were drunk or retarded, and then you're just back to the whole beginning to the story, which is, well, where did the drunk retard who created it come from? So what's the point of it? To say you don't know, or it's all too mysterious, you can't figure this out. Yeah, you can figure out there's no God. You can figure it out. The evidence is all over the place, and it's way past enough evidence to convict. There's no God. The universe is guilty of not being God-driven. It's a certainty. And so just pretend the evidence isn't there. Pretend we don't have a fossil record. We don't have a complete enough historical record, geological record, to put enough of the pieces together to know what we are. And what we are is an evolved life form, a replicating molecule, a toolkit of features that survived 4 billion years of evolution. Every one of my ancestors was a survivor. That's all. Nothing else. And this is what happens to you when you survive 4 billion years. Just like all the other animals that currently exist have ancestors that survived. And we have a lot of common ancestors. So whatever. I mean, it's just, to say that we cannot be definitive on any subject, I don't see the point of not being definitive. I don't see the point in pretending there's a bunch of vagary and uncertainty about what the truth is. We're an infestation on the crust of a planet. We're not the function of the universe. We're just one of the properties of chemistry, very specific type of chemistry, a replicator, a DNA replicator. Yeah, and so the only reason to have any apprehension about just plainly saying, I don't think fairy tales are anything to live by. I don't think they should be believed literally. I don't think you should believe anything that has absolutely no credible evidence supporting it as a theory. To say that's what you are, that's what you're saying when you say you're an atheist. You're saying theology is always just dogma-based bullshit. It's not theology because it has evidence, it's theology because it doesn't have evidence. So anyway, yeah, and he lives by this word intuition, as if that's the only kind of faculty we have is intuition. And I just think that it also is just completely preposterous. Every bit of my intuition that I may have had when I was 5 years old has been thoroughly modified by re-associations, by educated, learned associations, by all kinds of expansions and confinements of conceptual ideas that have nothing to do with my intuition, that have everything to do with understanding beyond what my knee-jerk reaction might have been. I mean, we have examples of this all over the place, but yeah, I mean, we might have visceral reactions to a snake or a spider, and then we learn and become educated, and we can see, oh yeah, it's like any of these other bugs. And we might learn something about bugs and find out that some cute little bug, some pretty little bug, is very dangerous, like a dart frog. We might say, oh, it's a very attractive little frog. But we can have knowledge and know, oh, it's very poisonous. You don't even want to touch the thing. You don't want to mess with that little fucker. So your intuition is modified by your understanding. Well, anyway. I mean, to deny that we have been educated, that we have acquired a lot of information, and we have a ton of facts to establish what we are, is just so insulting to my intelligence and to intelligence. So anyway, it's just very disappointing, very, very disappointing. This is apparently the popular runaway from reality, and he even implies it here. If you think this is quibbling or fence sitting, I can only ask if you have considered the implications of all this. Implications of what? The non-existence of a deliberate creator? Well, I mean, if somebody hasn't had to deal with that question in just accepting evolution, then what's the implication? That we're something other than, you know, a feeding organism on planet Earth? I mean, I'd like for people to be able to see the implications of that as being, whoa, maybe we ought to analyze this and see if it's really a game worth playing, because there absolutely isn't anything intrinsically functional in our function. We're just survival machines in kind of an insidious, stupid survivor war. Maybe we should take some time to consider what that means. But anyway. Alright, sorry, long, preachy premise, but this is, you know, the atheists are just, fuck you. I mean, these people are worse than the theists. The theists are just lying to themselves overtly, and it's quite obvious. They're just hoping for something. They demonstrate they have no real faith. I mean, I just saw Snake Plisskenus making fun of some Christian who was whining about swear words and some other crap. And, yeah, I mean, you know, these people sin all over the place, and they just write it off because they don't really believe in any of this crap. Right? I mean, if you really believe there was a God and you're going to spend time in eternal hell for taking the Lord's name in vain or something, I don't think you would bother swearing. I don't think you'd bother breaking a single rule in that book if you believed any of that crap. So, I mean, they demonstrate they don't have any real faith. They just want it to be true. I mean, they don't even bother reading their own silly fable. Because, you know, obviously Jesus said, you know, you're not going... The heaven they describe isn't the heaven Jesus described. You're not going to go there and, you know, hook up with your dead wife and continue your life together. No, you're going to forget who you were and forget what you were and become some kind of different entity living in some different world with the pretense of accomplishment again. Accomplishing what? I walked around in a circle today in heaven. Ooh, fun. Well, whatever. I mean, the whole thing is just silly. So anyway, so he starts off saying, well, these theists think they have an opportunity with me because I say I'm not an atheist. But you have no opportunity with me either because I'm not a theist. I mean, that is an atheist. If you're not a theist, you're an atheist. If you don't believe in a God, you're an atheist, just by default. So it's just stupid. You either do believe, it's like you believe in the existence of, let's say, naturally produced oil. Or you believe that oil is produced by some internal mechanism in the earth and it just makes oil. So those are two beliefs. One of them could be called, whatever, natural oil, and the other one would be a natural oil, or anti the natural oil theory. You can't be both. You just can't. And if both is the implication is, well, maybe somebody just hasn't written the right leprechaun story yet. Is that your theory? Well, that's not going to work because then it's not theism anymore, right? If it's not a leprechaun story, if there's an actual God, then it can't even be theism. If you have a God that you can actually prove or demonstrate with a piece of evidence, then it wouldn't fit into the category of theism anymore, because then it would have something to do with something you could demonstrate. And so then it would be science. It would be naturalism. God would be natural. But it's this whole supernatural element of a God that is the hoax of the God delusion. Oh, whatever. People have made better arguments than that, but this is just silly. Waste of time.
That's a mistake, and they're soon disabused of that. I simply offer the argument that just imagine that I'm a Martian who has landed on Earth here for the first time, and you're trying to convert me to this idea of there being a God. Let's say that my culture has never even attempted to tackle the idea of theism versus atheism.
Right. Okay, so you're a Martian. Where did you come from? Right? I mean, you'd have to assume that Martians came from the same place we came from, right? So if they never had any idea of theism, the belief in a God, right? So then we have to assume that they evolved, right? I mean, that would be the only choice, right? If they don't have belief in a God or don't even understand the concept, then it seems very unlikely that they didn't evolve. Okay, so they got here through the process of evolution. And through that process, you go through this weird stage where you are developing your understanding of the world. And there's this stage where you have the ability to see thunder, lightning, and hear thunder. You have the ability to see people die of diseases and know they're somehow being communicated with each other, but you don't know how. You cannot, and so you're in that stage. What conclusion are you going to draw? You see some people survive disease, some people not survive diseases, plagues and whatnot. And you're automatically going to draw conclusions, like, why does this guy survive? He had magic mojo? You're going to come up with some kind of voodoo, some sort of don't step on the cracks in the sidewalk kind of crap, some kind of superstition that you're going to think controls the weather or controls the tsunami or controls all the other shit trying to kill you. You're going to think so. That's going to be your ignorant conclusion. It's going to be very hard not to draw that conclusion. So to say that these Martians developed their understanding of the world and somehow they knew of evolution before they could do the science necessary to dissect the evidence to know it? I mean, what, did they actually have the missing link walking among them, so it was so obvious that they couldn't miss that conclusion? That all their transitional ancestors existed still, none of them went extinct, so they could see the gradual change? Maybe that would be their reality. I'm just saying, there's no point in creating an entity that wouldn't have an understanding of what it would be like to assume you were created on purpose. It just seems like an intelligence is automatically going to go one step further in terms of the cause and effect chain. And they're going to say, even if you accept evolution and abiogenesis, we see right now there's a bunch of people who are trying to figure out, our DNA came from space. That's how desperate they are. We've all of a sudden found a meteorite fragment from a current meteor, one that just fell here a year ago, and all of a sudden the meteor fragment has what looks like a fossilized algae in it. Now, isn't that coincidental? We've only got millions of pounds of asteroid material that science has been analyzing for years and years and years, and we never found a fossil before, and all of a sudden we found a fossil. Coincidence? Or something like that, maybe? Yeah, maybe.
Okay, you have to tell me what it is you're talking about when you say God, when you have to get me to believe in something.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, I just don't know why you would think some kind of other intelligence that can have this conversation would come from any other place than we came from and say, well, did something spark our existence? I mean, it would be a question they would ask, and I would think, though, like I said, if you're going to say that they somehow never wrongly speculated at any point in their history, that they never got a fact wrong, that they always just got them always right, then you're going to have to say that even if they did, they'd still say, what initiated the universe or what initiated life on Mars. Wouldn't they? And so they'd still be open to the creation of a story to fill in a gap. I mean, isn't God of the gaps? I mean, isn't that what God is? He's just a gap filler.
Well, the discussion inevitably results in an admission of the inadequacy of actually describing everything there is to say about God.
Okay, again, he says these things, and you're just like, where the fuck did you get that from? What's so hard about explaining what God is and religion? You just go down the list of all the wacky religions. Well, okay, these native people believed that the trees had roots. They were in the ground roots turned into bears. The bears ate the berries, and and they have a whole fucktard story. And these people on this island, well, they said that the queens were fed to the sharks, and so the sharks were full of holy whatever juju, and they were the gods oceanified. And then the other people threw virgins into the volcano because they thought the volcano was like God's pimples, and if he threw a virgin in, that would seal over God's wound. They all have some kind of wacky, nutty, ritualistic bullshit, and it's all because of ignorance, because they didn't know what a microbe was, they didn't know what thunder was and lightning, and they didn't know what a flood was and a famine, and they didn't understand anything about the biology they were fucking with. And that biology every now and then would attack the hell out of them with cholera or some other kind of plague. And these are the crazy explanations they came up with about that, is that somehow they did something wrong and they were being punished. And this is all what this religious wacky crap always comes from. It's all their enemies have been turned into ghosts, and the ghosts live in the dark, and it just becomes then some sort of boogeyman or some sort of juju you can pray to. That's hard to explain? I don't think that'd be hard to explain.
What is God? What do you mean by God?
Yeah, what you mean by God is a denial of the truth of our origins. That, we evolved from a replicating piece of peanut butter. A protein, a molecule. And that 4 billion years later, the molecule has gotten a hugely interesting skin on it. We're the skin, the membrane, protecting the molecule. But that's all we are. We're just a membrane. Full of tools, full of weapons to make it survivable in the environment. Certainly the Martians would understand that.
Inevitably, you sort of say, well, something you have to actually feel. And I don't
know where you even get that from. Something you actually have to feel. No, as evidence demonstrates, what you have to do is be brainwashed by your parents. 99% of Muslims, they're breeding into the religion. The relationship between the religion's existence and the people being bred into it, raised into it, is not incidental. It's the truth. Isn't it? Isn't it a huge connection? So this has nothing to do with what you feel. It has to do with what you've been brainwashed into accepting as a truth.
Really have a problem with that. I understand that the intuitive side is absolutely central to our character, but...
Well, again, this is another the intuitive side is essential to our character. Says you. I think that's just a pile of shit. I think what's really essential to my character is understanding. The more I understand, the more I can do things that are completely unintuitive. Right? I mean, obviously, drunks don't have any intuition telling them, well, I probably shouldn't be driving because I suck at driving when I'm drunk. But when they understand it, when they hear the term drunk driving enough, they say, oh, okay, I'm drunk, I shouldn't drive, okay. That's their behavior changes, their intuition changes, because they are informed that that's probably not a good thing to do. Oh, come on. I mean, you can think about all the inhibitions we have in terms of how we interact. I mean, you can see it in a kid. The kid doesn't have all these inhibitions. So, like, some big fat woman comes up to him, he says, wow, you're fat. You know, and he's not trying to be hurtful. He's just noticing the fact that, man, you're fucking fat. And then he learns through life that, oh, that intuition of being honest, you know, and just observing and talking, no, don't do that, because it hurts people's feelings, makes them feel bad, and blah, 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 blah. So now his intuition has to be modified, and now he has to inhibit. And there's a pile of these inhibitors now put inside of his head that have nothing to do with his intuition, to be just honest and forthright, to say, man, you give me a boner, bitch. You know, instead of saying that, he's got to first do the, oh, here's a box of chocolates, and oh, you are charming, and all this other bullshit he's got to say. Because he can't just come out and say what he wants to say, which is, man, I'd like to be fucking you from behind. You know?
Where we run into trouble is where I sort of ask, how do we cross-reference our intuitiveness with our personal intuitiveness with that of someone else?
Well, again, this whole cross-referencing intuitiveness is just so weird. I don't even know why are intelligent people doing this. This is just so stupid. No, we communicate our understandings, our knowledge base with each other. We explain evidence to each other. We attempt to persuade each other by giving examples and analogies and providing metaphors and explanations of why something can or can't be. Like somebody could have an intuition to say, oh, well, life must be in the rest of the universe because look how much of it's on this planet. And then you could sort of explain to them how the physics and the biology doesn't necessitate or provide evidence for that conclusion, that conclusion is completely, that impression, that intuition is completely wrong. It's like somebody feeling lucky in buying a lottery ticket. And then you kind of explain to them, look, here's a book I'll give you from the library. It has 1 billion dots in it. Okay? And look, it's an inch thick, page after page after page of dots. Now take a look at that. And when you're buying your lottery ticket, you know, your odds of winning are 20 times that book full of dots. And you think you might win? You think you might? Come on, silly person. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're again, you're just denying our intelligence. And why are you doing that? Why are you denying that we have learned an awful lot? We have a ton of evidence regarding the function of our psychology and the function of the world we live in. And you're running away from that knowledge, pretending it doesn't exist, and glorifying the crudest part of us, the least part of us, the bug, the insect, the lizard, the crudest, dumbest animal in us. You're feeding that, and you're starving the best part.
Let's say I'm a pious Muslim, and I'm in Mecca, and I'm doing that circle thing around the Kaaba, waiting for my turn to kiss that black, I think it's a meteor or something like that, a piece of a meteor. I'm surrounded by all these other Muslims. How do I know that any of these people believe anything that even comes close to what I believe?
Well, I mean, really, if you're all walking around kissing a meteor, that seems a pretty specific belief system that would drive people to do that. I don't think there's any kind of innate instinct that gets you there, so there must be some sort of storytelling or narrative that got you there. I don't think you're born to kiss meteors, to have some impulse to fly around the world looking for a meteor to kiss. So I think it'd be hard-pressed to make an argument that that's anything other than just cultural nonsense, and that you all got your cultural nonsense watching the same cartoons, right? Going to the same cartoon church, the storytelling place, or whatever you want to call it. But it's like everybody showing up at a South Park convention or one of those Star Trek conventions. They all sort of role-playing. They all know what they're doing. I mean, they all kind of can associate with each other, and they all have the same kind of wonder. Oh yeah, Spock is cool, and yeah, Kirk's a little bit whiny, and this is a little, they all have the same idea of what's going on. So I don't even know what your argument here is. It isn't intuition that drives people to these things. It's a specific kind of formatting they've had. You're either formatted to be it's like discs in the old days, right? You're either formatted for the Apple or you're formatted for the IBM. But you're formatted. Your structure, your identity has been classified. You have been changed. You have been modified. You have been colored, polluted. What other word could you use? Structured, dented, impacted, modified. And now this is where you are. That's what you are. You can't be the other because this is what you've been made into.
If most of what I believe is intuitive,
if most of what I believe is intuitive, if most of what you believe is intuitive, then I don't know what planet you're living on. Because I can't think of anything I understand that could possibly have anything to do with intuition. My understanding of chemistry, that's not intuitive. My understanding of biology, that's certainly not intuitive. Physics, holy shit, that's nowhere even near intuitive. So where's this intuition in my life? Where? Where the hell is it? I don't understand. I know I have a pancreas, and I have absolutely no concept of how to have a relationship with my pancreas. It's some squirvy-looking little creepy organ hanging out behind my lungs, and I have no clue. I don't want to know it. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to look at it. I have no intuition at all. Nothing. I have no way to relate to it at all. It might as well be a Martian. But I have knowledge of what it does.
My view of God relies heavily on my intuitive side.
Right, so you intuitively know there's no God. You're intuitively not convinced by the evidence. Oh, I'm sorry. Collecting evidence is not intuition. Having knowledge of any kind of extensive knowledge. You better not piss in that bed. I'm just going to go insane if you're pissing that bed, you fucking crazy cat. You just pissed your bed. You fucktard. What, are you retarded or what? What is wrong with you, cat? Your behavior is insane. And they're going to run away and hide. You fucking pussy. What are you going to do with a cat that's... He's gone. He's fucked. His brain is gone. Why would you piss in your own bed? I mean, I just don't get it, cat. You're not, like, insane. You still know where your food dish is. You're not pissing in your food dish. Holy shit, that crap stinks. I don't understand. Do you understand? I don't understand. not like my life is not a big enough mess, and I'm not depressed enough. But now I got a cat who's pissing on everything. What the hell's wrong with him? Oh man, P, the fuck you. Oh, everything outside. Fuck that. Yeah, you got a perfectly good bed. Now it's perfectly shit. Way to go, retard. Push the damn thing. I'm gonna fucking kill me here. Yeesh. So depressing. What are you gonna do? Yeah. Let's see. Find some kind of old thing for him to sleep on, I guess. Something that don't matter. Man, why would he do that? Stupid. Shirt. Yeah, you can have this shirt. I believe you can have it. It looks ready enough. Looks like something you already did something to. So, you screwed yourself there, buddy. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty fucktarted. He's hiding under there. Yeah, under the top of the VCR. Yeah, I mean, he knows he's not supposed to piss in his own bed. He knows it. Stupid. Man. Where's the intuition in that? I don't know, this is not going very well. Well, anyway, sorry. This videos.
How can we even make a comparison between my intuitive belief in God and the next guy's intuitive belief in God?
Right, so why would you imagine an intuitive belief in God? I'm sorry, I just don't even get that. God who? How would you even describe some God I'm supposed to be intuitive with? I mean, every time, as soon as I heard about God, I said, this doesn't sound like any fun. This didn't sound like a nice guy. This is like, oh, God loves me? Oh, what? You mean he's going to throw me in hell forever? For what? For what doing what? Stepping on a crack on the sidewalk? What? This doesn't sound like a friendly guy. He's going to burn me to death and rip my skin off and hang me upside down and beat me and shit on me and do horrible, horrible things to me forever? Because what? Because I said a 4-letter word? Holy shit, fuck. I don't have any intuitive relationship with this guy. Fuck this guy. Fuck the zombie gods. Fuck the totem pole god. Fuck. I don't have any relationship with any god ever described in any fucking religion. They're all insane lunatics. I mean, even the old, the whole Zeus and all those guys, they all had all kinds of hang-ups and problems. I mean, fuck all these crazy bastards. How do I intuitively relate to any of these assholes? No, come on. That's not going to work. You can't create a God that could be overlooking the world and letting all this horror happen and just letting it happen. How could I ever have an intuitive relationship with something that cruel? Maybe you could, Crazy Andy. Crazy Andy. But I cannot.
Let alone the thousands of other pilgrims swirling around me. How do I know that any of these people believe anything that's even remotely resembling what I believe?
Right, and anything remotely. They mumble exactly the same words, they all dress alike, they chant in unison, they whip themselves with chains in unison, and no, they have completely different philosophies. I don't think so. They all look alike to me. I mean, frankly. That girl in the burqa looks just like that girl in the burqa. So whatever. Well, I don't know what your argument here is. What, you think they have complexly different theories on what part of their life experience? they all look pretty samey to me. Their values look the same, their activities look the same, their lifestyles look the same, their houses look the same. They all look the same to me. It looks like a big pile of shit to me. I don't see them doing anything profoundly different or unique. Oh, that's right, because it's completely against their ideology.
I have no way of knowing that. I can't, in the very nature of things, know what they believe in terms of the intuitive side of their belief. So
the intuitive side of their belief, well, whatever. Again, this is just you're just talking about the depths of their hope. Even this isn't like, again, this isn't any kind of belief. It's wishful thinking. It's hope. It's not belief.
language is not capable of describing God. Okay?
Whatever, says you again. I don't know what that means.
Reason isn't up to it either.
Whatever. What, we can't reasonably describe a fantasy character? Yeah, leprechauns are short and green and carry shillelaghs. Can't do that. The rabbit in Wonderland is late for an important date.
But most religious people, most theists, say that, well, you have to have a lot of intuitive in there as well. Well, that's fine, but the intuitive is much more difficult to actually put across to other people.
Well, whatever. Like I said, this stuff isn't that hard to put across to other people. People have very simplistic beliefs in God. You see it all. They don't even read the Bible, and they're devotees, and all they're really devoted to is love, or some kind of simplistic concept of charity or nicety, niceness, hug. That's the depth of their philosophy. And there's other people who take it a little more seriously, and then they can drive rationalizations and want to argue it and convert people because they don't want to have to deal with the fact that they don't want the introspection imposed on them. They don't want somebody looking at them and saying, "Wow, you're a fucktard." Because they know that as soon as they say that, as soon as they see that person in the mirror, when they look back, they're going to hear, "You're a fucktard." And they're going to say, "Yeah, the guy's right. I'm a fucktard." I mean, I'm completely lost in a pile of shit. And I'm sitting there rationalizing the shit.
And it's much easier to misunderstand the intuitive because communicating the intuitive is nowhere near as precise as say language is. And I already believe that language to be fundamentally inadequate for describing things. So,
okay, well, that's probably enough, right? I mean, we've already gone far enough, right? Language is fundamentally inadequate for describing things. Why? Because it's not God speak. Why exactly doesn't language can't accomplish the function of describing the material universe? No, I think it can. We don't do it very well. Some of our language absolutely sucks. And one of the things that sucks is idiotic words like intuitive, which are meaningless drivel. It's baby talk. It's just inexplicit nonsense. Imprecision all over the place. Anybody with a serious give a shit about communicating anything directly and straightforwardly wouldn't go near that word because it doesn't have any coherent definition. Well, whatever. This is hopeless mush, and people are placating it. And it's very it's just very depressing that this is what people who have had some education, and this is what they waste it dribbling. And sad, pitiful, disgusting, revolting. Great video. It's amazing. Great video. Well, he's an atom. Yeah, 3314 atom. Or maybe he's a little god botherer. Oh dear. Off to bedlam, I say. I'm tired. Long day. Can't piss this bed. It's worrisome. I mean, I did it the other day too. That's why I'm upset. I pissed on my couch the other day. It was just, so it's just not good. Not good at all. He just spent 8 hours sleeping nice and comfortably in his bed, and he just gets up and decides to go eat, and then he jumps back in his bed to piss in it. Just doesn't make any sense. Alright, till next time. In touch.